Alright, we're playing new game, Stanley Parable. Probably my most favorite game that I've never had the chance to play. I like this game. And it was free on Epic Games today. I hopped on, decided to record it. This is my first playthrough, so should be fun.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on the keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although
seems kind of boring,
might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Was he now?
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
What did he not forget?
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow.
Whoa.
No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi.
It's
Never
the coronavirus explosion.
Had this happened. This complete isolation. Something was
That's
very
exactly.
wrong.
It's corona.
Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Are those my instructions? Can I... Oh, I can't type. Kinda wanna deny everything that the speaker says.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Right, that's better. Room 420.
Stanley went around touching every little thing in the office, but it didn't make a single difference, nor did it advance the story in any way.
What's here? In here, no? Okay. Close the... I can't. I'm stuck. Alright. Just gonna touch everything. Can I go in here?
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
I don't know, man. You know what? Can't close it. I'm gonna go to the door on the right.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well.
Did I?
Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely what I wanted to do.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking it all in.
Nope, that's not the expression.
But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
No, I don't think I will.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Okay. What's this thing?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself.
Do I have a wife and
Not
kids?
asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Ah! Do I have a wife?
Stanley, Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life.
Maybe I do
She's
have a
been
life.
waiting.
Oh god. I don't want to go in there. No, let me out. Oh. Can I go back? I want to go into the black void. Oh no. Don't kill me. Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's her, Stanley.
Wait, I didn't... Wait, what? I didn't...
Oh, Stanley, is that you?
No.
Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting.
No.
I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven.
No.
All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Whoa. Oh, God!
Gotcha! Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife? Who want
Wow.
to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here.
I'm gonna walk down this hall.
Sorry,
Oh!
but you're in my story now.
You know, if I had a wife like that, I wouldn't mind. Hey, lady.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Uh-oh. Good morning, employee 2. Press P on your keyboard.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Let me out. Press G. Okay.
Look at him there, pushing buttons,
Shut-
doing exactly what he's told to do.
You know what? No,
Now
no,
he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home. Now he's coming back to work. One might even feel sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
No, I'm gonna press 2. Press 1. Press every button except for that one. What if I just don't press it? Just stand here. Just, you know, I'm just gonna sit here for however long it takes.
A few moments later.
Alright, nothing's happening. I'm gonna press 3.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk, Stanley dreamed of wild expeditions into the unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful. And each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him.
Why is this guy so mean?
And so he began to fantasize about his own job.
Whoa.
First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Hold on. Wasn't that a TV? That was a TV. Spend time with the boys. Okay.
So he went further. He imagined that he came to 2 open doors and that he could go through either. At last,
am I having a
choice.
dream?
It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Prepare dinner?
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
What? He's calling me a baby? Please press C to tell your kids a story.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Press K to tell your wife you love her.
But there is no answer.
Hey!
How could there possibly be?
Wait.
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
What is this?
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
I'm gonna do it. Please press N to be at work in the morning. Yeah.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here, he's electing to kill himself? How can I get him to see what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
I'm still here. Is he to question nothing?
I suppose I can't. Not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must. Perhaps, well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried again, and Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Oh! I left clicked. That's it? What?
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Okay. Did it restart? I don't know if I think it restarted.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Alright, I'll go down the left door.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of
Talk
disbelief,
less.
Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Broom closet.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
I bet there's something here. This man's trying to hide something. Press everything.
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to
Hey!
follow, just an
that's
empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
I'm gonna stay in here. It's bound to be something.
It was baffling that Stanley was still just sitting in the broom closet.
I like
He
it
wasn't
here!
even doing anything. At least if there was something to interact with, he'd be justified in some way.
There
As
is
it
something
is, he's literally just standing there doing sweet FA.
Whoa, watch it there, buddy.
Are you really still in the broom closet?
Yes.
Standing around doing nothing? Why?
It's
Please
nice
offer
in
me
here.
some explanation here. I'm genuinely confused.
I'm gonna sit here.
You do realize there's no choice or anything in here, right?
I bet
If
there's
I'd
something
said
in here.
Stanley walked past the broom closet, at least you would have had a reason for exploring it to find out. But it didn't even occur to me because literally this closet is of absolutely no significance to the story whatsoever. I never would have thought to mention it.
Stay here. I like it here.
Maybe to you this is somehow its own branching path. Maybe when you go talk about this with your friends, you'll say, "Oh, did you get the broom closet ending? The broom closet ending was my favourite." I hope your friends find this concerning.
Alright, thank you for that. That made me leave.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
It's down here. Go down here. Is that my
But
car?
Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy.
Hey.
My co-workers blinking mysteriously
Wait.
out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming! He yelled.
I'm dreaming!
This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head.
Why can't I see my
He was
legs?
amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner.
Can't see my
Why
legs.
is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking?
Oh, definitely.
Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd,
It's making me feel
wondered if
weird.
this
I've
voice
gotten
led
like
to
5
all
chills
people
down
in
my
their
spine.
dreams. The truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself?
I'm gonna
Stanley
stop
is
walking.
as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just...
It's scary.
He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he
Okay.
invited himself to wake up. He
Wake
felt
up!
the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh
Still
air
hear
of a
myself
world
typing.
outside this one. Let me wake up, he
Yeah.
thought to himself.
Let me wake up.
I'm through with this dream.
Yeah,
I
screw
wish
this
it to
dream.
be over.
Yeah, end it.
Let me go back to my job.
Yeah.
Let me continue pushing the buttons.
Yeah.
Please.
Please.
It's all I want.
It's all I want.
I want my apartment,
I
and my
want-
wife,
And my
and my
wife.
job.
And my job.
All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been.
Yep.
My life is normal.
Yep.
I am normal.
Mm-hmm.
Everything will be fine.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay.
Mm-hmm.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake
What?
me up. My name
No.
is Stanley.
No.
I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone
Why is it
tell me
turning
I am
red?
real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear
No.
my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
Oh god, I'm scared!
And everything went black.
Oh god.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk.
How much
And
crack
although
was
she
I
would soon
on?
turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't.
Okay.
It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life.
What?
She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What? So I was high off my ass. And then some woman came by, is like, yeah, my reputation's gonna get ruined by this, so I'm not gonna help this guy. Because I'm sane and he's not. Yes.